The power of Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences comes from its growing influence in schools. The Richard Hale School in Hertfordshire uses it in the classroom.
Very like you.
Each pupil finds their strongest intelligence.
I turned out to be mathematical,
interpersonal,
musical and kinesthetic,
logical and interpersonal,
kinesthetic and intrapersonal.
And this influences how they're taught. Even their assignments can be tailored to their specific intelligence.
As we spin, we ping and pong off of each other and create energy.
In multiple intelligence theory, everyone's good at something. So potentially, the classroom's got something for everybody. But is Gardner's theory good science?
Multiple intelligences, there's actually, despite all the interest in it, there's very little research on it.
The idea of multiple intelligences comes out of psychology. It's a theory that was developed to document the fact that human beings have very different kinds of intellectual strengths, and that these strengths are very, very important in how kids learn, and how people represent things in their minds, and then how people use them in order to show what it is that they've understood.
The reason that we are talking about multiple intelligences in this episode is not to give you an educational psychology lecture or to debate Dr. Gardner's theories, but to help you apply the principles to your own university studies. As with most things in this course, if it helps you to be a better student, use it. And if not, you do not have to agree with every theory or argument we make, but you should know about them. The theory of multiple intelligences proposes 8 basic learning types: spatial, linguistic, logical, body, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and natural intelligences. For most of you, one of these styles of learning is your dominant intelligence type, and for a few people there may be 2 or more equally dominant learning styles. Let's examine them in more detail. The first category we'll look at is spatial intelligence. These people are picture smart. They might daydream often. They think visually and use images to remember information. They're good with colors and pictures. These people often make good artists, designers, and architects. The second category we'll look at is linguistic intelligence. These people are word smart. These people love to read, write, and tell stories. They're good at memorizing dates, facts, and trivia. They're good at learning foreign languages. Some can even repeat what they hear, like an MP3 recorder. The next category is logical intelligence. These people are number or reasoning smart. They enjoy abstract problem solving. They enjoy patterns and puzzles. They like to know how things work. They're often good at mathematics, and they're able to perform complex calculations. Often engineers fall into this category. The next category we'll look at is body intelligence. These people are action smart. They are strongly in touch with their own body and with their own movements. They move, they gesture frequently. They prefer hands-on work rather than sitting and reading. They are multitaskers. They are excellent at doing more than one thing at one time. Often people with body intelligence have difficulty in universities because they find it difficult to sit still. Their bodies want to keep moving. But they are excellent as athletes, pilots, dancers, actors, police officers, and soldiers. Even surgeons often have a very strong body intelligence. People who have musical intelligence are music smart. Obviously, they often make good musicians, or conductors or composers. They like music, they enjoy making it and hearing it, they remember songs well and have a very acute sense of pitch and tone and rhythm. They learn well through music and making a song with the information. The next category we'll examine is interpersonal or social intelligence. These people are people smart. They relate to and understand others well. They see the world through others' eyes. They have a very strong sense of empathy. They adapt well, they make friends easily. They are often good politicians, managers, diplomats, and social workers, any sort of situation where there is a necessity to read and understand other people's feelings. The next category we'll look at is solitary intelligence. These people are self-smart. They have a very strong sense of their own private thoughts and feelings. They work well alone. They are proud of being independent and original. They are what we call the strong, silent type. They do well as psychologists, researchers, sometimes lawyers. Not all lawyers are trial lawyers. People who have a solitary intelligence, they're very self-reliant and they prefer to be by themselves. People with natural intelligence have a strong sense of interaction with nature. They are good at gathering intelligence about their surroundings by looking at the weather or plants or trees. These people are good farmers or forest rangers. In the modern age, this type of intelligence may not seem very useful, but if you were a caveman, the ability to predict the weather or recognize an animal track would have been much more useful than the ability to read.
Where does your intelligence lie? Today, we're going to take a test. It's related to the intelligences that you have heard about in this week's lecture. Now we're going to try and see which particular intelligences you have. So, let's get started. Now, you've heard about verbal, logical, musical, and so on. Different types of intelligence. Different ways of thinking, or different preferences for looking at the world. So let's look at you and see how you think and how you feel. Now, this test is not fail-proof, but it has been designed by some experts who generally have a good understanding of these types of intelligence. So, we can put some faith in it and see what we can get. I'd like you to get a piece of paper and on your paper mark the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on until you get to 35. You don't need to leave space for writing. All you need is enough space to write T or F beside each number. It's that kind of test. Okay, we're going to start soon. Before I begin the test, one last note. To decide what to mark on your paper, you need to consider this. When you listen to each statement, if the statement is mostly true, or true for the most part about you, mark T. If it doesn't sound true mostly about you, mark an F. If it's sometimes true, sometimes false, leave that number blank. Okay? I'll read them carefully, but feel free to pause the video if you need a little bit of extra time. Number 1. I'd rather draw a map than give someone directions out loud. 2. If I am angry or happy, I sometimes know why. 3. I can play a musical instrument. 4. I like to sing songs and rap. 5. I can add or multiply quickly in my head. 6. I help friends work out their problems and feelings. 7. I like to work with calculators and computers. 8. I learn new dance steps fast. 9. It's easy for me to say what I think in an argument. 10. I like listening to speakers talk. 11. I find my way easily in malls and new places without getting lost. 12. I like to be with friends at parties. 13. I like to listen to music as often as possible. 14. I always understand the drawings that come with new toys. 15. I like to work puzzles and play games. 16. Learning how to ride a bike or to skate was easy. 17. I get upset when I hear an argument that doesn't make sense. 18. I can talk friends into changing their minds. 19. I have great balance. 20. I see patterns and relationships in numbers quickly. 21. I enjoy building things with wood and nails. 22. I like word games and jokes. 23. I can look at an object one way and see it turned sideways or backward just as easily. 24. I like to tap out rhythms with my hands. 25. I like to work with numbers. 26. I like to sit quietly and think about my feelings. 27. I enjoy looking at the shapes of buildings. 28. I like to hum, whistle, or sing when I'm alone. 29. I'm good at sports. 30. I enjoy writing letters to friends. 31. I can always tell what look is on my face. 32. I can tell how people feel by the look on their faces. 33. I stay in touch with how I feel. 34. I can usually tell what kind of mood other people are in. 35. I can usually tell what others think of me. Now, you've taken the test. You have a list of T and F on your paper. All right. Now, you see a chart on the screen. So on your paper, somewhere, we're going to do the same kind of chart. So you can write A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay? So notice beside A, we have the number 9, 10, 17, 22, 30. So that means if you put a T for any of these numbers, good. Count up how many you did and put that beside A. It means if I wrote T for 10 and 22, for example, I'm going to write a number 2 beside A. Do the same for B, and so on. So beside B, we've got 5, 7, 15, 20, 25. Among those numbers, all the ones that I wrote T beside, I'm going to count them. So another example. Let's say I put T beside 5, 15, 20. That's 3, right? So beside B, I would write 3. Maybe by now you can see how it works. Go through each letter A, B, C, D, and so on, and give yourself the score. Soon I'll tell you what they mean, but first you need to take a moment and add up those numbers. beside any one letter, if you have 4 or greater, that means you wrote T beside 4 or more of those numbers, you have a strong ability in that particular intelligence. But you have to wait before I'll tell you. All right, go ahead. I'm waiting. Okay, are you ready? Okay, if you want to know what they are, A is verbal linguistic intelligence. B is logical mathematical intelligence. C, visual spatial intelligence. D, body kinesthetic intelligence. E, musical rhythmic intelligence. F, intrapersonal intelligence. G, interpersonal intelligence. That's I-N-T-E-R, personal. So, what could these mean? Well, as I mentioned before we began, there's no perfect answer. It may depend on how you're feeling today or your own memory as to how you answer these statements with true or false. However, there is something else to consider. It's quite alright and not at all unusual for people to have more than one intelligence. In fact, it might be more unusual for people to have only one intelligence. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So, while you may find strengths in several fields, you may be very spread out into various types of intelligence, you may be spread to only 2 or 3 types of intelligence. Whatever the case is, don't worry about it. Some of these questions may not be applicable to all people in all countries. Surely there will be some people who might not ever learn to skate, and so the question about that wouldn't be suitable for them. Ultimately, don't take the tests too seriously, nor the results, but enjoy this new perspective on the world. Appreciate knowing a little more about yourself.
Now that you have a better idea of what sort of intelligence you have, how can you apply this to your time at Keimyung Adams and after? Our best advice is this. 1. You might consider your dominant intelligence when making career plans. Someone with spatial intelligence might be a good city planner, but not a very successful dance teacher. Someone with linguistic intelligence might be an excellent interpreter, but a poor accountant. There is nothing wrong with accepting your particular limitations while celebrating your unique capabilities. 2. Tailor your learning or studying environment to your dominant intelligence. If you are spatial, you might use lots of shapes and visual relationships in making notes. In composition class, I talk a lot about using your multiple intelligences in making outlines. Someone with spatial intelligence might have lots of colors and arrows. You might be successful at relating ideas and concepts to visual ideas. If you are linguistic, you are good at text and understanding words. Your outlines might be a very traditional point form style. This sort of thinker is usually very good in the humanities, but sometimes struggles in the sciences or mathematics. It helps if you can relate abstract ideas to words. If you are logical or mathematical, your outline might look like a flowchart. This sort of thinker might learn best by relating ideas to number relationships. A body intelligence person might jog or exercise while studying. A musical person might listen to music. Interpersonal intelligence people might study with other people and discuss the content. An intrapersonal learner probably needs privacy and silence. A natural thinker, well, they probably have to learn outside. The last point we should make, though, is to remember that multiple intelligence theory is a theory, and one that is not accepted as scientifically valid by many psychologists. But our interest here is simply in finding practical ways to help you learn and think. And if you have a better understanding of how your personality shapes your learning, run with it. If not, reject it. What we don't want you to do is to give up on some interest you have because the test shows that it doesn't fit your intelligence style. The test should only indicate your dominant intelligence. It doesn't mean you are an idiot in other categories. You can certainly be a poet and still write engineering manuals.